For decades, America's defense industry enjoyed a position few thought could ever be challenged. Allies bought American helicopters, American aircraft, and American military technology almost by default. But now, something unusual is happening. Canada is looking toward Airbus. European nations are expanding purchases from alternative suppliers. And nearly $500 billion in future defense opportunities is suddenly up for grabs. If these trends continue, the consequences could reshape defense manufacturing across the Western world. Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. Here are the 5 developments driving one of the biggest shifts in Western defense procurement in decades. Number 5. Airbus challenges U.S. helicopter dominance in Canada. One of the most significant battles isn't happening in the fighter jet market. It's unfolding in military helicopters. For decades, Boeing, Sikorsky, and Bell dominated North America's rotorcraft sector. Canada's fleet reflects that legacy through the CH-148 Cyclone, CH-147F Chinook, and CH-146 Griffin. Now Airbus wants a larger role. The company has expanded its Canadian aerospace presence and has openly discussed establishing helicopter production in Canada if future military, Coast Guard, or RCMP contracts are secured. That's a far bigger offer than aircraft alone. Airbus brings manufacturing jobs, technology transfer, engineering expertise, and access to a global customer base spanning roughly 170 countries. With platforms like the H-145M, H-160M, H-225M Tiger, and NH-90, Airbus is pitching Canada on becoming a production and export hub, not just a buyer. But Airbus isn't the only company benefiting from changing procurement priorities. Across Europe and North America, governments are increasingly looking beyond their traditional defense suppliers. Number 4. Canada and Europe accelerate beyond U.S. suppliers. The Airbus story is part of a broader shift across the Western defense industry. For decades, NATO procurement centered on a small group of major suppliers, many of them American. Today, governments are increasingly diversifying their partnerships. Saab continues promoting its Gripen fighter and globalized surveillance platform, while South Korea, Turkey, and several European defense firms continue expanding globally. A major example came in 2026 when Canada selected Saab's GlobalEye aircraft over competing American offerings. Built on Bombardier's Canadian-made Global 6500 airframe, the project supports domestic industry while strengthening ties with Sweden. The message is clear. Governments increasingly value technology sharing, local manufacturing, industrial investment, and long-term partnerships alongside military capability. And those decisions aren't happening by accident. They're being driven by a much deeper change in how Canada evaluates defense contracts in the first place. Number 3. Canada changes the rules of defense spending. The Airbus and Saab stories reflect a much larger shift underway in Canada's defense strategy. For decades, Canadian procurement naturally favored American suppliers due to geography, NORAD cooperation, and deep industrial ties. Today, however, contracts are being evaluated differently. Beyond performance and price, Canada is placing greater emphasis on domestic manufacturing, technology transfer, workforce development, intellectual property access, and long-term economic benefits. It's a strategy automotive enthusiasts will recognize. Just as governments encourage automakers to build local factories and supply chains, Canada increasingly wants defense firms to invest directly in its economy. The question is no longer simply, what are you selling? It's increasingly, what long-term value can you create for Canada? That shift is reshaping procurement decisions nationwide. Before we reveal why defense companies from around the world are rushing to position themselves in Canada, do us a quick favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us bring more industry analysis and vehicle-related insights to enthusiasts just like you. Because once you look at the numbers behind Canada's defense strategy, the scale of what's happening becomes far more dramatic. Number 2. The $470 billion defense gold rush begins. Canada's defense transformation becomes even more striking when you look at the numbers. The country's defense industrial strategy outlines roughly $180 billion in procurement opportunities and another $290 billion in defense-related capital investments over the next decade. approaching a massive $470 billion total. That opportunity is attracting global attention. CanSec 2026 drew thousands of defense executives, investors, military leaders, and government officials eager to compete for future contracts. Support is expanding as well, including a $4 billion investment platform designed to help defense-related firms grow. Meanwhile, startups focused on artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, Arctic communications, surveillance technologies, and quantum computing are emerging rapidly. Much like batteries and semiconductors, defense manufacturing is increasingly becoming a strategic national priority. But the biggest story isn't the money itself. It's what happens when America's closest allies begin spending that money differently. Number 1. America's allies are buying defense differently. These developments may seem like isolated contract decisions, but they reflect a much larger transformation. The same forces reshaping automotive manufacturing, semiconductors, aerospace, and energy are now influencing defense procurement. Governments are prioritizing supply chain resilience, domestic production, workforce development, and industrial independence. For decades, trusted suppliers and long-standing alliances largely dictated purchasing decisions. Today, countries are seeking greater diversification, stronger local industries, and more control over critical technologies. Canada's evolving strategy reflects that trend. Military contracts are increasingly viewed as tools for economic growth, innovation, and national resilience. In the years ahead, success may depend less on who builds the best equipment and more on who delivers the greatest long-term industrial and economic value. And when you connect all of these developments together, a much larger picture begins to emerge. Verdict: the global defense industry enters a new era. What we're witnessing across Canada, Europe, and the broader defense sector looks increasingly like a major industrial realignment. Procurement decisions are no longer driven solely by military performance. Governments are placing greater emphasis on manufacturing capacity, technology transfer, skilled jobs, supply chain resilience, and long-term economic returns. Airbus's growing ambitions in Canada, Saab's recent success, expanding European partnerships, and Canada's defense industrial strategy all point toward the same trend. Countries increasingly want industrial participation alongside military capability. For automotive enthusiasts, the similarities are impossible to miss. The same forces influencing defense procurement are also reshaping vehicle manufacturing, battery production, semiconductor investments, and advanced industrial policy. The real competition may no longer be about who builds the most advanced equipment. It may be about who delivers the greatest long-term value, investment, and industrial growth. And based on current developments, that race is only accelerating. Now we'd love to hear from you. Do you think Canada's strategy of prioritizing local manufacturing and technology transfer is the right approach? Could European defense companies continue gaining market share at the expense of traditional American suppliers? And do you see similar industrial shifts happening in the automotive industry over the next decade? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We always enjoy hearing different perspectives from fellow enthusiasts. If you enjoyed this analysis, be sure to subscribe to Piston Pundit and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next vehicle updates, industry insights, and major developments shaping the future of transportation, manufacturing, and technology. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.